All right, everybody, welcome back into the Auburn Basketball Show. Appreciate you for joining us. It's been a minute since we've caught up with you since the season ended. We haven't really it's been a little crazy, roster building, transfers coming in, coming out, all that good stuff. So we sort of wanted to give it a little bit of time, let the dust settle a little bit. So we didn't just pop on here and do shows about, nothing. We're just speculating for 35 minutes. I guess we could have gone on here and done a show about guys visiting that aren't visiting. That would have maybe gotten us some attention and some traction.
For sure.
But no, we're not going to do that. Alan Head, Justin Hokanson with you from Auburn Live. All right, here's the plan. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and apologize if I have to step up and blow my nose, or if I'm sniffling, because I've just been I'm just going to apologize to the listeners. I've been sick for over a week. Really bad last week. So I'll try to keep that in check, but just give me a little bit of, got my water.
Little grace here, guys.
Little grace. Little grace if my throat starts to go or something crazy. All right, here is the plan. We're going to talk about Tahad, talk about Chad. We'll get into the new additions so far in the portal, kind of give thoughts on each one of those guys, kind of lay the land where things are at with the roster, and then maybe what's next. And then we're going to do we're going to take questions from the corner. We put a post up. I put a post up before we recorded this, so hopefully we'll have a handful of questions. And so the back end of the show, we'll try to get through as many of those questions as we can that aren't duplicates. We'll just try to roll through a bunch and answer a bunch of those if they're different from what we've talked about, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the plan. But hopefully this show will kind of catch you up on where things are at. I've tried to be really transparent. I've tried to post on the board and give a bunch of thoughts. And I've tried to put a lot out there, but I know sometimes it gets missed or whatever. So I'm sure we'll regurgitate some. But hopefully if you listen to this, you're kind of like, okay, I kind of know where we're at, where we're going, and all that good stuff. All right, let's talk about Tahad and Chad real quick, because those are kind of the two guys that could potentially come back, and then we'll get into the transfers. Really nothing on Tahad. That's just going to be a waiting game to go through the draft process. So really nothing new there. I don't know if you have any thoughts. I mean, the draft, he's sort of it's bouncing around late first, second, my only thought on it is I think that Auburn has a pretty good idea of what he's going to do based on what you've seen and how they've recruited in the portal or how they've not recruited in the portal. Now, he could still go. Obviously, it's his call. I mean, some NBA team at 15 could go, this dude's electric. We're going to just let him go. Yeah, who knows what could happen. But you kind of have a pretty good idea of about where he would go and what the Pettiford camp is looking for. And so I think based on that, there's a high likelihood he comes back. And I think Auburn's sort of operating under that assumption. If for some reason he didn't, so be it. You get to brag about a first rounder and then you just adjust. There's no really other way around it. People have asked me, there's really no way Auburn can do. They can't go recruit a portal point guard because they're going to go, well, don't you have Tahad? You're not going to spend a bunch of money on that, because then if Tahad comes back, you spent $2 million on a dude who's going to be a backup. So there's not a lot Auburn could. Caden Magwood's going to play a little bit of point. So there's just not a ton they could do really to try to what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of couch their efforts, I guess, or sort of play both sides. So it just kind of is what it is. But I do think they feel like he'll come back. What are your thoughts on Tahad and anything you've seen draft stock wise, and all that good stuff?
Sure. First and foremost, I think you're spot on with just making observations about how Auburn has recruited or lack thereof at the point guard position. You haven't shown a lot of effort or put energy into any one player, which makes you think Auburn feels relatively decent at this point. Now, I'm speculating you're talking to people inside the building, so there's a little bit different ball game here. But I think most people would understand that Bruce and this staff and the NIL collective, OTV, have committed a lot of resources to making sure that Tahad feels very comfortable about coming back to Auburn. If you're looking at draft projections, they've been kind of in the range, like you talked about, anywhere between 20 to 45 is what I'm seeing for him. And there hasn't been a lot of inclusion in some of the mock drafts to this point of your European players, which always kind of push the stock of certain players given the position where they're going to come in. And I think there's at least 2 or 3 Euro guys that will probably push Tahad down some in the current draft situation. And if that happens, he's probably late first, early second at best. And I don't know that that's enough to get him to commit to staying in the draft. With, like you said, with short of a guarantee from a team that's telling him, like, hey, at 20, we're taking you. Yeah. If you're there, you're ours, right? He knows he's got a fantastic opportunity to come back to Auburn. The team is going to be more or less kind of built around him some this year. He'll be featured. He'll have an opportunity to up his draft stock, have a fantastic year, and have really good support around him to make sure that he's featured in that way. And if you're going to be compensated in the way that I think Auburn's prepared to compensate him, it just makes a lot of sense for him to come back. And that's just my 2 cents on Tahad. I think people are looking for assurances in a situation where you can't provide them. Again, you can't predict what an NBA team's going to do once he starts to go through more of the workout process. Does somebody fall in love with him? It's just yet to be seen. I think you're going to have to go through that like you did with Janai Broome when he went a couple of years back and did so well at the G League Pro Day. And then he went to the NBA Combine and did well. And so there were people that were kind of, a little nervous as to how he was going to play it. And ultimately he ended up coming back. And I think you'll see something very similarly play out with Tahad. But that's just my 2 cents there.
Yeah. I was trying to look real quick at some NBA contracts. Let's see. This is from last year. All figures are based on estimates of 120% rookie scale. I mean, that's more than I thought. Is that right? I don't know. I was trying to see kind of if you went late first or if you went second, sort of what you get paid.
Sure. I think early second is somewhere between $1 million to $2 million, but it's a non-guaranteed contract, right? Like that's the deal with being a second round pick is there's no guarantee. And you can absolutely be put on a 2-way contract similar to Jared Harper. I think Sharif Cooper was one of those guys that was put on a 2-way contract. And if you're talking about relationships, Tahad and Sharif know each other. And if my guess is Sharif would tell him, like, hey, unless you're guaranteed first, there's no reason for you to go into the draft. So if you're looking for a parallel, I think that's probably a pretty good one, other than Tahad's got a better body of work because Sharif only played in about 13, 14 games before he decided to turn pro.
Yeah. The last pick also, yeah. I mean, I think that's here we go. This is from 24-25. Let's see what late first went. So late first got, boy, it drops off quick. What is this? Is this annual? Rookie salary per year. So yeah, you go late first. Like if you go, where I've seen some people talk about Tahad 21, 22, potentially that could get you $3 million in the first year if you make the roster, if you make the team, I guess. If you're on an make 3, then it drops. I mean, by the end of the first round, you're at 2.5, it looks like. And then second round, obviously a lot less and no guarantees. So, yeah. And I think, what do I know? I'm not a scout. I mean, Tahad would benefit greatly from another year. I mean, his skill set, everybody sees the creativity. Everybody sees the shot, his ability to get hot. He's got incredible leaping ability. The scouts will watch that. And for people that don't watch Tahad all the time or whatever, you're going to watch. For his size, he can absolutely get up. His thing is just, I thought he got better as a defender. His size is going to be an issue. Like he's going to have to get bigger and stronger the best he can. And he's going to really need to show strides defensively if he comes back on being able to really wall off a guy and not, and handle if if he gets switched off and he gets on a 6'4" guard, can he hold his own if the guy's trying to take him to the bucket? Just stuff like that, because everybody in the NBA is freaking huge. There are no, I mean, it's not college. Like you can't go in there and be small. Like everybody's a man. So that I think he coming back, getting a little bigger, stronger would be awesome. And running a team. I mean, he played some point, played a little too. If he came back and played 30 minutes a game and was the one, maybe let's say at times he's in there and somebody else brings the ball up the court, but he's the one, he runs the show. That would be nice too. Like I think you saw him in the second half. You saw him behind Denver Jones. If he's the man, let's see what he does through a whole season of running a team and running in the show and how he operates and all that. So, yeah, nothing new with Tahad. I think he's still, I think he probably comes back. And as I posted weeks ago, there was never, I saw one thread on our board about like the port, like it was the night, I think it was the last day. Somebody asked about the portal. I'd already addressed, there's zero shot. I know Tahad's dad. I know their family. They love Bruce. They love Auburn. They are really loyal. BP's really loyal to them. 0% chance he was entering the portal. He's either going pro or he's going to Auburn. They have a great relationship. So that's Tahad. Okay, let's talk about Chad. Everybody get a drink.
Yep.
Let's talk about Chad. So as it stands now, obviously he's in the portal. The expectation all along was that he was going to come back. I reported that the expectation was that he was going to come back because he had already agreed to a deal. He had already, they handled a lot of that before the season. He was going to come back. And, as I put a lot of these thoughts, and I won't rehash everything super in depth, but season ended, Auburn went into the portal, got some players. Their camp thought, we think we should deserve more. You're giving that portal guy that. Well, now maybe we need to reevaluate. Auburn said, no, we have a deal. We made a deal. That's where we're comfortable. The Auburn side of things, which I put in a post, but I didn't put it in my initial story. So I guess I'll say it again for people that missed it. The other part of the story is, according to Auburn, is that they had conversations with Chad in addition to, having a deal done for the next year, which, by the way, was going to triple what he made this past year, over triple. They, according to Auburn, told him, hey, just FYI, we're going to have to probably overspend for some bigs in the portal. It's just the market we need. We're losing Janai, Chaney, Dillon. We're losing everybody. We're going to have to get some bigger guys. We're probably going to have to overspend a little bit. According to Auburn, they told him that. In other words, somebody might get more than you. And according to them, Chad was like, got it. Understood. All good. There was no, whoa, hold up. Like, you can spend whatever you want, but I better get $1 more than anybody. There was none of that. So not just that he had a deal, but according to people at Auburn, they would say, we even talked to him about, we might pay more. Not just that we have a deal with you, but we might pay somebody more than you, because that's just the market. And he, according to them, was like, got it. Understood. All right, it's cool. And then so that obviously that changed. And I'd say a week and a half before the portal, they kept coming back to Auburn and wanting more. Not surprising, honestly, because from what I understand, their camp was even making kind of comments like that during the season. Not serious, but like there were some, from what I understand, there were kind of some comments made. Like, remember he had a couple games. Remember, I think it was Ole Miss went off. Yeah. He had 2 games where he went off for like 22, 23 points or something. In Kentucky, he went off. There was some stuff like after that game where his camp kind of was like, hey, he's crushing it. We might have to look, like, sort of take another look. And Auburn was like, we got a deal. And it wasn't super heightened in the seriousness. It was kind of just sort of banter.
Yeah.
But now looking back, you're like, it was maybe never quite enough. Sorry, I'm making sure I don't miss anything. So anyway, that's sort of the deal. He enters the portal. Auburn was not surprised the last couple of weeks. Before that, they kind of figured that's where it was going. And then, so that obviously that changed. And, they told him, hey, just FYI, we're going to have to overspend for some bigs in the portal. It's just the market we need. We're losing Janai, Chaney, Dillon. We're losing everybody. We're going to have to get some bigger guys. We're probably going to have to overspend a little bit. According to Auburn, they told him that. And, so that obviously that changed. And, If he leaves, he's going to owe Auburn a lot of money. I can tell you, and I haven't posted this on the board just to clarify, and I will before this goes up. Auburn doesn't owe him anything. This is not a situation where Auburn is obligated to him the same way he is to them. In other words, if he said, I want to come back, Auburn is not, from what I understand, Auburn is not contractually obligated to take him back. From what I understand, the second he put his name in the portal, he breached the contract. And so he can come back, but Auburn's not, he can't go, well, we have a deal. I'm coming back. You're going to pay me that. That's done. If Auburn wants to, then go, yeah, you can come back. We're going to do a whole new deal, though. You're going to earn like half. They can do whatever they want on that regard. So I'll make sure and post that. But that's my understandings, because some people had asked me that. I was like, actually, I'm not sure. So there's nothing like where Auburn has to take him back no matter what and has to pay him X or whatever. So if he goes, he's going to owe Auburn. I haven't heard any. I don't know where his recruitment stands. I've seen schools tossed out with him with interest, and I don't have good verification on any of those. So anything you've heard about Kentucky, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Kansas State,
sure,
interest, Illinois. I mean, probably some interest, but I don't exactly know the seriousness of any of those schools in terms of willing to pay him what it would take to cover what he would owe Auburn and then make more than Auburn. I know Providence is a school mentioned. It's like there are schools that are out there. I'm not sure really where things stand and who is actually legitimately like, not number one, we can pay you, and so where you make money, and two, you can academically come in, because you remember Chad's been at Duquesne, San Diego State, JUCO, 2 years at Auburn, hasn't graduated. I'm going to venture to say that his transcript is a bit complicated. So that's another thing is, yeah. So who can actually make sense of that and bring him in to where he comes in as a senior, or it all lines up and he comes in where he needs to be? So those two, academically and NIL, those two things would have to line up for a school, and then he would have to actually want to leave to pull the trigger and leave Auburn. So anyway, I feel like it's a short gist. What are your thoughts? That's where we stand. I think we'll know more in the coming days. I mean, the portal's closed, so who's in is who's in. We should have an idea. Schools should have an idea of what they're going to pay. Do they want Chad or not? We should know more. I don't think the door is closed on a return to Auburn, but I think that's very fluid. I don't think that there's any concrete, we'll take him back no matter what, we won't take him back no matter what. I think that's a very fluid thing. I think there will be a scholarship there for him. It's not like they're going to run out, but do they want to pay him the same, and do they want to take him back? And I've got thoughts on the back end. We can get into that. But what's your reaction the last couple of days on him entering? Where are you at with this whole thing?
Sure. I think you've done a phenomenal job of covering this from start to finish, and really kind of the first person that I saw that stuck their neck out there and said, okay, this is what took place. Because it all kind of broke at the same time with Chad entering the portal. He enters, and then very quickly thereafter, your reporting starts. Does it surprise me that Chad Baker-Mazara entered the portal? No. And I understand that players will get envious and players want to be compensated. I understand all of that. I think from the player's point of view, I understand it. What you would hope is that in this world that we're moving into, this is a business now, and that Chad had put people around him. And I don't know who's in his camp, who's not. I know his dad has been a very positive influence on Chad, but legally speaking, who's around Chad to advise him? Who's his agent? Who does he have that's telling him, like, hey, don't worry about what you signed with Auburn. Just enter the portal and it'll all work out, right? Unfortunately, I don't know that he's got the soundest people from that standpoint around him. Don't know that, but that would be my assumption. I think you bring an interesting point or really two. A, what teams have money left that are willing to gamble somewhat on Chad? Now, look, from on the court, that's not a gamble. Chad is a proven commodity. He's somebody that can go out there and absolutely be a bucket getter for you. He can be a facilitator. He can do a lot of different things. There's a lot to like about his skill set. Off the court, does he mix with the chemistry of your building? Do you have the coaching staff around him that's going to be able to nurture him and continuously tap into the psychology of keeping Chad focused and dialed in? Because when he's focused and dialed in, really great player. When some of the things that plague him at times and he reacts to, either fans or other coaches or players on the court and something that they did, it becomes problematic. And so it's almost mercurial kind of behavior, and that you don't know what Chad you're going to get some days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So knowing all of that, who's willing to put that kind of money and investment into him? Is it going to be enough to cover the buyout that he has with Auburn? We're not reporting figures here at this point. I think you'll put that out there when you're comfortable and ready for that. I know what Jeff Goodman reported in his on the field of 68 when he put that out there the other day, but I don't know that that's 100% accurate either. So I think we'll get into that at a later date. But you do have to be conscious of the fact that a team is going to have to be, or for Chad, he's going to have to be willing to go to a team that's going to pay him enough to compensate him that he's making more than he would have made at Auburn. Yeah. And if you're Auburn, and I know what the fans are going to say here, why would you bring Chad back at this point? Well, A, he's a known commodity within that program. Bruce knows him. Steven knows him. Ira knows him. Corey knows him. They understand what they have with Chad. And if they make a determination that putting him back into the locker room, that they can do that and everybody be on the same page and there's not going to be distraction, or there's not going to be some level of a renegotiation midway through the season, or you're going to sit out or something of that nature. If they can all be on the same page of the way it's going to move forward, I would understand exactly why they would bring him back, because he helps raise the ceiling of what this program could be this time next year in combination with Tahad and several other attractive pieces that we'll get to in a minute that they've accrued in the portal and through high school recruiting. But it's got to make sense for everybody. And it's got to make sense that there's not a distraction. And I don't know that you can guarantee that at this point. Again, it's fluid. And what kind of mindset is Chad in when he comes back to the table, if he does want to come back to Auburn? Or does he find one of those teams that you talked about? I think you just mentioned Arkansas, Ole Miss, Providence, Kentucky, Illinois. There's been others that have been tossed around out there. I think those are the main ones that have been discussed by people who would know. And what do they have left? I mean, I would venture to say Kentucky's about tapped out, with what they've spent in the portal at this point.
Lord.
Arkansas, between what they brought in from the high school ranks and what they brought in from the portal, I can't imagine they've got a ton, though that one probably makes the most sense to me if he's going to go someplace else, because they need a proven commodity within that starting lineup. Ole Miss, is Chris Beard going to mesh with Chad Baker-Mazara? I don't know. I'm with you that there doesn't seem like there's a clear-cut front runner for his services. And who's willing to gamble in that way? I don't know. It makes sense for him to come back to Auburn. I think that would be what was in his best interest. Does Auburn want to agree to those terms they had before? There's just a lot of things that I don't know. I could make a case for either thing happening. But I think really two people are going to make that decision. It's going to be Chad and it's going to be Bruce. And can they get on the same page? And does Bruce want to do that if Chad were to come back with the right mindset? Because at some point, you do to make a determination of injecting him back into my program. Is that the direction I want to go? Or am I ready just to turn the page and move on? And really only Bruce knows that. I mean, that's his determination to make.
Oh, yeah. And I don't even know, I don't know. I try not to get into that. I mean, do I have opinions? Yeah, I got opinions.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, it's Bruce's call. They're going to have to deal with it. So it kind of doesn't really matter if he should come back or not come back, because I don't have to deal with him.
Right.
I mean, strictly on paper, yes, of course he makes you better. I mean, if he comes back, two of Elijah Freeman, Kevin Overton, and Abdul Bashir, two of those are coming off the bench.
Yes.
Bashir is pretty much a 2, but Overton can do 2-3, and Freeman can do 3-4. So there's overlap there. So if Chad comes back and you assume he starts, then 2 of Freeman, Overton, Bashir coming off the bench. It's not bad. And obviously Chad knows your system. He's a defender, all that good stuff. I don't know. I don't love the dynamic of him coming back. I also hate to give my opinion because I just think people are going to be like, yeah, like we're with you. And I don't, and if he does come back, so I don't want to stir anything up. I just think it would be, man. And I've thought about this since last year. I've talked to people about this since last year because I'm at practice more than anybody. I watch the dynamic of these players and of the team. And I was already thinking about this scenario last year because I'm watching practice going, Janai comes back, Dylan comes back, Simo comes back. And then in addition to that, Miles came in, very strong, good leader. Denver, strong, good leader. You had strong, good leaders. Denver, another one. You had multiple mature, experienced guys coming back that not only knew that were leaders coming back, but had been around Chad and knew Chad.
Sure.
So, and then getting rid of like I think Trey and Aiden and like KD, that was good for Chad. Like those guys were not always, I didn't think always super mature, and I think it basically kind of isolated Chad, and everybody else on the team was pretty good. Like was a pretty good leader, mature, and Chad was kind of the only X factor, and so you could kind of contain him. You didn't have another crazy person. Well, yeah, Jakai.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, but Jakai.
But Jakai was young, and that's different. Jakai wasn't like a guy who actually was playing. So
right.
Anyway, you had a bunch of guys that could sort of oversee. And I was already thinking about this last year. I'm like, man, all these guys are going to leave, and I don't know what the dynamics can be. Is Chad going to come back and think, I'm the guy? I'm coming back. I'm the mature guy. Tahad might come back, but he's younger than me. It's my team. Boy, that's a scary proposition. Chad being the leader of a team, that there's no way. I mean, he doesn't display any of that off the court. I'm just telling you, and the teammates know. They didn't know, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to get into that you don't know that they have to deal with Chad. Teams don't know what they're getting with Chad. All they know is a little crazy, flagrant fouls, technicals. That's what you know. And I promise you, they're not going to call Bruce is not going to give you the file on Chad. He's going to be like, let me tell you everything you're getting with Chad so you can be fully prepared. He's going to be like, you can figure it out. Lot that comes with him. So anyway, I just don't know the dynamic of bringing him back with an entire new team.
Sure.
That is going to look at he's going to if he were to come back, you have the dynamic of the staff that's already fed up with him. They've been fed up with him. And then this incident. So then if he comes back, I just don't know if all the good faith has been burned through with the staff. That's a whole thing. And what's that relationship going to be like? They worked so hard with him. They gave him a billion chances. And I don't know what the leash will be if he were to come back with the staff in terms of giving him some grace. Okay, Chad's going to be Chad. I'm going to work with him. Like I'd be at my wit. They've already been at their wits end. I mean, the first time he didn't show up to practice, the first time he was late, or the first time he pouted or whatever, I'd be like, bro, you can leave, man. We're over it. So I don't even know. That's a whole dynamic. But you have this whole new team that's going to – I'm thinking about the first practice when like Keyshawn Hall and Emeka Oporum and Kevin Overton and Elijah Freeman and who am I forgetting?
Well, you got your young guys, Simon
Keyshawn
Walker.
Murphy.
Yeah,
Murphy, and then all the high school. They walk in there and Chad does something Chad, and they're like, what the hell? What the hell's going on? Who is this? Who is this guy? What are we doing here? There's just you don't have a sort of a weird dynamic of everybody sort of gets it. They know when to deal with Chad, when to talk to him, when to ignore him. Like the team last year, dude, they knew Chad so well that when Chad would do Chad things, they didn't phase him. Chad would walk off the court in practice, or Chad would, act a certain way in a game. They just would tune it out. They just did seen it. I don't know how this group's going to react to that. And I don't know, are you sabotaging or are you potentially, threatening a chance to start new with this new team and let them build an identity with Chad coming back?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. Like if Chad didn't enter the portal and he agreed to the NIL deal and he stayed with it, I'm in. I'm with you. I think then you bring him in and the whole new team meshes. And I think but going in the portal and all these guys that Auburn's recruited, they know Chad entered the portal and maybe he comes back. And I don't know, man, that BP is really good at letting guys be them and sort of creating a culture and a chemistry and letting guys kind of be themselves. And so I think it would probably be fine. It would probably work. I mean, but man, it's a lot there to figure out. And BP is really loyal.
Yeah. He is.
I don't know, man. I just think at some point it could go across a line where you're just like, I don't think the dynamic works anymore. But you come back around and go, man, if he's there, he makes us a lot better, which is pretty much what happened last year, by the way. Just so people understand, and I wrote about it. I never mentioned it before, but I'm like, well, now that he's in, I'm going to write about it now, which is that he did this last year. He did this last year, but Auburn upped his NIL, and he took his name out before it officially went in. He played this game last year. And it was actually worse because what I didn't mention in that story was the specifics, which is he did it the final day of the portal.
Yeah.
He did it the last day you could enter. And so you Auburn's opportunities were limited. But basically the reason they brought him back last year was he's a really good player. He's a really good player. Let's just up it. And we know he's kind of a headache, but man, with him, and credit to BP, he goes, with him, we can win a national championship. They knew that. Without him, Auburn's still pretty good, but he brings some elements that with him, with everything else, Auburn could do special things. Yeah. They gambled. It paid off. They went to the Final Four. You dealt with a little bit of Chad. He had the flagrant. He had some stuff. And he cost them maybe the Alabama game. But you made the Final Four. So I would say the gamble paid off. Greatest season in Auburn basketball history. Chad was a huge part of it.
Absolutely. And in the Final Four game, I mean, he played like a warrior. I mean, with an injured hand, absolutely went out there and balled. So laid it on the line when he had to. Definitely it was worth the gamble last year with obviously Memphis, who tampered with him late, or whoever it was. I can't remember the exact team that was involved. But anyway, that's kind of water under the bridge. But you bring a very interesting point about Tahad probably being the leader of next year's team, and I think that he will be. I think this team's going to be built around him so long as he comes back. Chad being a veteran, and then other players, younger players, because, look, you're bringing in some really talented young pieces, and Sebastian Williams-Adams and Caden Magwood and Abdul Bashir and some of these guys. And when you see a senior, like it's not probably going to affect Keyshawn Murphy, right? Like you're talking about a guy that's played in an SEC program for 3 years with a coach who looks like he loses his mind on the sideline like every other day. So my guess is he's experienced enough. Keyshawn Hall is bounced around. He's a veteran. It probably would be odd to him, but they would get beyond it. But to me, the culture that you're setting in that locker room, that is a very valid point. And is there chemistry, or does he create a diversion which alters the potential of your season? And I think that's what you have to weigh if you're BP, and what he chooses to do will be his business. I'm with you on the fact that providing a suggestion or thoughts doesn't accomplish a whole lot, because at the end of the day, it is those two guys getting in a room together and figuring out, okay, can we be on the same page and can we move forward together in harmony? Because if we can, if there's going to be more of this, then I think it's best that we part ways at this point. And that's if Chad comes back around. Who knows what's going to happen with other teams? There's that element to it too.
Yeah. That's the truth. I think it's probably a lot of it centers around Chad. I mean, I think the more I think about it, what are we? We're in April. It's April 23rd. I mean, if he were to decide to come back, they don't even. I mean, they're back practicing in whatever June. Like by the time that comes around, a lot of this will be water under the bridge for the players.
Yeah,
that won't really be the issue. Will just be if Chad, after all this, does Chad continue to be an issue off the court, and do the coaches just get fed up with it? And does that? Because the only reason Chad's worked to this point is because the coaches have had more patience than you can imagine.
Sure.
And if that goes away, if the patience goes away and the ability to work with him or try to understand him or try to give him a little bit of flexibility, like, okay, if all that goes away, I don't know what you have. The only reason Chad survived 2 years is because of the flexibility and the patience the coaching staff has given him. If that goes away, if they go, listen, we're done with all that. You're gonna be in line, or like that's it. There's no more. If that goes away, I don't know how you survive another year. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't think anything's closed the door. I don't think anything's done one way or another. BP's not super emotional about this stuff. Like
it's business.
He's not Chad. I mean, I can go back, man. KD probably got one more the year than he should have gotten at Auburn.
For sure.
There were some issues there, and they brought him back before his last year. They almost said you need to move on. And they ended up, they gave him a bunch of more chances, and he came back. And Flanagan was not always great, and so like I don't know. He's not super emotional. Like if you can help the team, you can help the team. So we'll see what they do. All right, let's talk about the new additions real quick. Keyshawn Murphy, Emeka Oporum, Keyshawn Hall. At one point, they had Hall, and then they were getting Murphy. And I texted somebody in the building. I said, "Is it just Keyshawn's? Is that all we're doing now?" Keyshawn Hall, Murphy Oporum, Kevin Overton from Texas Tech, Elijah Freeman from Lincoln Memorial D2. Those are the 5, and then of course you've got the 3 high school signees plus Abdul Bashir. If Tahad comes back, you're sitting at 10. If you go get one more big man in the portal, which is the plan, which is what I've said for days, that was the plan. And we'll try to get, because Oporum, you don't know. You need to make sure you need to get another big man that's played a little bit, so that if Oporum is slower to develop, you're not relying on him being the backup center. If he does great, you got 3 big men. If he doesn't, you need to make sure that you've got a good rotation there. That'd put him at 11. And then we'll see. Bruce generally likes to get to 12. I'm sure Blake Mushalak will go on scholarship, and then we'll see. We'll see kind of what happens. I guess if Chad comes back, that's 12 as well. But what are kind of your initial thoughts on sort of the 5 main portal guys? And I guess I'm counting Oporum. He's JUCO, but technically that's a transfer. He's not maybe a college. He's not a transfer portal kind of what we're saying. But whatever. What do you think about those 5 and what they bring to the table?
No, I hear you. And Oporum is a transfer. He's just to the JUCO variety. Yeah, more the traditional sense than what we've kind of come to in the last 4 years or so. But we'll start off with Elijah Freeman, really long, athletic player. He's a bucket, man. I mean, he shows really good change of pace on the highlights that you see. I mean, I think he's got one where he goes Euro step to a 2-hand dunk, showing off his athleticism and length. There's another one where he kind of walks a guy down and then he's able to pull up for mid-range. A lot of very, very attractive parts to his offensive game, and I don't think scoring is going to be an issue for him. I mean, I think he walks through the door as a guy that'll be able to score right away. To me, with him, it's kind of 2 questions. The first is how quickly does he acclimate to a whole different level of competition, because as talented as a scorer as he is, and he did play a good brand of high school basketball, moving into power 4 level basketball, specifically the SEC, and the way that the deepness that league brings and the level of competition, it's going to be different for him, man. it's going to be a different level of basketball. So how quickly does he get up to speed there? We saw it took Chaney a little bit, who made a similar jump from UAH. And so will it be less time for him, more time? You don't really know. Secondly, what I do see on his highlights, I see an extremely bouncy, athletic guy, but is his foot speed enough to stay in front of threes and wings in the SEC? And is he big enough to bang at the 4 if that's where they choose to put him? So he's going to have to make some changes to his body, get into the strength and conditioning program, and probably change some things there. But I love him as a raw prospect. I mean, maybe he has the most upside of any player on your roster outside of, Tahad if he returns. I mean, I think he's got a lot of attractive parts. Keyshawn Murphy, 6'10" guy out of Mississippi State, played in the SEC, local product, right? I mean, I think he's out of the Birmingham area, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
11. Yeah,
I
I think that's right. But 11 points, 7.4 boards per game last year on about 24 minutes. I would expect for his minutes to go up here at Auburn, especially given what you've got coming off the bench right now, because you just don't know with Oporum what he's going to be able to do at that center position. He's a 4-5 guy. I think he's going to predominantly play like the 5, the center spot at Auburn right now, unless Auburn finds it just a bona fide big that'll allow him to slide to more of that big guard /4 position. But I like him. A very athletic shot blocker, weak side rebounder, a guy that has played in this league, competed in this league, and knows how to get points for you. And I think there's a chance for you to be able to extend his offensive game beyond what Mississippi State had him do last year. I mean, I think he was a guard coming out of high school, shot it at a pretty decent clip. So seeing him being featured more as a stretch 5, I think gives him an opportunity to prepare himself for the NBA and showcase him in a way. And it's something that Bruce has done a really good job of with his bigs as far as letting them expand their game. But like that pickup, I think he's a floor setter for you and continues on with a talented group of bigs that you've had come through there. Keyshawn Hall is easily the most known commodity you've got coming in, leading Big 12 scorer, really talented guy, 18.8 points per game, 7.1 rebounds at UCF. And prior to that, he was at UNLV. And is it James Madison? Was that where he was prior to that? It was with Virginia School. I know that.
Keyshawn Hall?
Yeah.
God dang it. These guys bounce around so much.
Yeah.
Was it James Madison? Where was he? You can keep talking. I'll look it up.
Okay.
He was somewhere. Yeah. Because he's been to 4. This is like his 4th place.
It is. It's his 4th place. It's either James Madison or George Mason. It's one of the two. I can't remember.
I think it's George Mason because it was A10.
Okay.
Because he was A10.
But he's the guy. I mean, he's probably your 4 right now. And I know there are a lot of people on the corner that want to see him as a 3. They don't love the fact that Auburn is moving to a smaller 4-man. But you talk about some of the challenges that he's going to present to somebody trying to guard him. The 4s in this league, I mean, he's 230, 6'7", maybe 7.5, and got the kind of skill set where he can take you out on the perimeter and make plays off the bounce, and then also has enough size to be able to go inside. I mean, probably it's been since Chimu Ukiki that you had a player that was that level of dynamic with the ball in his hand and also be able to make plays in the post and can absolutely rip it from the 3-point line too. I mean, look, you had Jabari, who was an ultra talent, but he's 6'10". You've had some Simeon Bowers types in the past where, when Sim was dialed in, he was a handful out there, especially as a stretch 5, stretch 4. But he's probably the best, in my opinion, stretch 4 that you've had on this roster since Chima. It wasn't this guaranteed first pick like Jabari. I mean, he's a super dynamic player and in the mold of some guys that Bruce has had before at that position.
That's probably the best comparison. Chima Okora was not quite the same. I mean, Isaac wasn't. He was about as tall. I've stood next to Keyshawn a few times. I mean,
yeah,
Okora was 6'7". Could dribble and could kind of post you a little bit similar. I mean, I feel like Keyshawn's maybe got an inch on Okoro. Like Chima and Keyshawn were just a hair taller than Okoro, but similar. Okoro just didn't have the outside shot. He got better, but he didn't. That wasn't he was more, he could take you off the dribble. He could get down low. He could he could clean up, but he didn't have the outside shot that Chuma and Hall did. By the way, Hall, UNLV, George Mason.
George Mason.
UCF,
Okay.
UCF, right. UNLV, George Mason, UCF, now Auburn.
Nice.
That's his trajectory.
Now that brings us to maybe my favorite player, and this is going to irk some people on the corner. I really like Kevin Overton because I like his fit on the roster. I think when you're looking at him, you need to look at the composition of your roster, specifically if Tahad comes back. This is a guy that is a willing defender, a plus defender, a slasher that you didn't necessarily have, or a guy that could get to the rim last year. I felt like we talked about it multiple times that there were a lot of players on this roster that fell in love with their jump shot at different times, and they didn't get to the bucket in the way that they needed to. I think with Kevin Overton, you get exactly that. And then you're talking about a guy that's not going to be demanding touches. You've got other really talented scorers on this roster. This is a guy that's going to be your fourth, maybe your fifth option, but has the ability to shoot it better than I think he did this last year at Texas Tech. Somebody that can expand their game. He's shown, I think, against Arizona in the Big 12 championship game, he put up 20 points. So he's talented. Mm-hmm. Can Auburn get him more consistent to where he averages double digits? I think so.
Yeah.
But again, you love the fit. He reminds me, games are very different. But as far as how he fits into the construct of the roster, like a Malik Dunbar type, right? Where a guy that can.
Literally, I didn't say it on the board. That's the first person I thought about just thinking about Auburn fit.
Yes.
But I think he's more refined than Malik. I think he's a tad better than Malik, but that's maybe the build. Maybe they're both physical looking players. First person I thought about was Malik, like pretty good, like not the best player on the team, but like important role guy.
Yes.
Will play some defense, will be physical, but I think he's a little more skilled than even Malik was. But that's who I thought about, was like when people are like, well, what are we going to do with this guy who's maybe comes off the bench and da-da-da? I'm like, hello, Malik Dunbar. Like, go look at his importance in that Final Four run.
Yes.
I'm glad you said that.
No, absolutely. Not everybody needs to score 15 a night to contribute to a winning program. You have to have guys that are willing to accept roles. And I think he's a guy that will come in willing to accept his role. He's played with really good programs in Texas Tech and Drake. So he's been coached well. He's been coached hard. And I think he'll be a good leader for this team. And then you talked about it to start everything off. Emeka Oporum, if that one hits, it's got an opportunity for Auburn to really hit, right? I mean, a lot of tools with him, but very raw. And so how his body develops over the course of the next 6 months to a year are really going to tell the tape. But I agree with you that Auburn probably needs another big, just because you just don't know. You don't know how quickly he's going to adjust or how much weight he can add so quickly. But when you watch how quickly he gets off the floor on tape, his shot blocking ability, and you can't teach 7 foot. I mean, he's a true 7-footer. It's just
man's crazy. I've stood next to him and I'm like,
yeah,
long arms, bro.
Extremely. And so again, you're talking about NBA level talent ceiling if he hits, but you need some insurance, right? Like you can't bank on that. And I think Auburn has progressed past the point of needing to bank on Emeka Oporum. They need a little bit more solid of an option there where you know more what you have. And look, if Emeka hits this year, great, because he raises the ceiling of your roster. And if he doesn't, if you do find that other big, then you know that you're an NCAA tournament type team with the potential to get, maybe to the second weekend of the tournament, maybe more than that, depending on what pieces you're able to add, if you can find that right 11th and 12th piece.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good rundown. Yeah, that's funny you said Malik. When you started to say the player you reminded me, I was like, is he going to say Malik?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that. I mean, because Malik was a good three-point shooter, but, I mean, I think they're similar. Yeah, I think it's a good haul. I mean, I don't, Murphy's a proven commodity in the SEC. Keyshawn Hall, you're the leading scorer in the Big 12. And then I think, obviously then the other three, there's a little bit of unknown. Oporum, how quickly does he develop? One thing I've been told on him, and I've said it publicly, is they think and have been told he's a very, very hard worker. And having spoken to him when he left his visit and just chatted with him, very he seems like a very driven, focused dude. You're coming over from Nigeria. I mean, he came over from Nigeria like last summer. He's literally been he played his season. It's not like he's been in the States for a handful of years and acclimated and then started JUCO. Like, he literally came over in August and then just played. So imagine his growth track and what it could be if he's the kind of hard worker they think he is. And you already see some stuff on film. They're like, he catches every lob. A lot of Walker Kessler comparisons on the defensive end. A lot of lob it to him, affect everything on defense, things like that. Walker was a little more refined. Walker probably could have shot a little bit more from the outside if he'd have come back the same way Janai did. But a lot of Walker comparisons on defense. And then Freeman, just the adjustment from D2. What does that look like? Might take a minute, but he's very skilled. And I like Overton. I think Overton's underrated. I think that they look at Kevin Overton as somebody that was, maybe underutilized. Like, I even saw some comments from some Texas Tech fans that thought he, could have been a starter. I mean, he played 23 minutes a game for them. So think about, what did Tahad play? Tahad played about 22, 23 minutes a game and didn't start. I mean, so, you wouldn't call Tahad. I mean, Tahad's one of the most important players in Auburn's season. I think Overton was very important to what Texas Tech did, even though he didn't start. And I think some of those flashes, if you're able to score 20 in a semifinal against Arizona, or you're able to, I think he scored 12 or 14 against Arkansas in the NCAA tournament. So the ability's there. And having talked to Overton as well, you're getting a guy that was he was kind. I mean, I put it in the story, but he didn't hesitate to go. They wanted me to be a 3-and-D, and I'm more than that. I'm better than that, and I think that I'm capable of bringing more to the table. Like, he didn't hide that fact that he thinks he can bring more to the table. When you watch his film, like, kind of, he's a lefty, kind of not a super smooth shot, a little bit awkward maybe, but that'll improve. He'll be 33-ish%. And then, but man, some of the stuff to the basket was pretty impressive. His hops on a few plays were pretty impressive. So, like, I think you're getting a really good player. So, like, as of right now, you're looking at what is a starting lineup of Tahad. Let's say Abdul, Overton. I don't know how. It's too early to know how it's going to shake out. Abdul's a bucket getter, but Overton's got the experience and the physicality and is a really good defender. That's the other thing. Kevin Overton was like, I love to play defense. He goes, sometimes I get burned. Sometimes I don't win them all. He goes, but I think it's fun. So I think you're getting a dog in him. 3, let's just for now say Chad doesn't come back and you start Elijah at the 3, Keyshawn Hall at the 4, and Murphy at the 5. A lot of potential, a lot of length there. Just, a lot of times got to go by to mesh all these guys together. But I think Auburn got a good mix of established Murphy and Hall 4 and 5, and then a little bit of potential in the other guys. And I think the other thing, man, is like, we'll wait and see, like, once Tahad, if Tahad's actually come back. I think Tahad is getting forgotten in this because it's like everybody's just focused on the portal. Like, who are we bringing in? Murphy and Freeman, and right? And, like, Tahad will be your best pickup if he comes back. I think we're sort of just forgetting of what Tahad just did and what he's capable of. I know he had ups and downs. Florida didn't play that well. He needs to get bigger, stronger. But, man, the potential of what Tahad could be, as hard of a worker as he is, as good a leader as he is, what he could be next year as the man, leading as the one. I mean, dude, he could be a lot better. He could be a lot better. So when you think about this Auburn team, you look at some of the pieces that they've brought in, all good, all great. But like, stop and take a second of what Tahad could be. When you're thinking about the team, you're like, well, we're not sure what Oporum's going to be, or maybe you're not sure what Freeman. I get it. But, like, there are some proven pieces there, but what could Tahad be? And where could he take this team? So we'll see if he comes back and all that. But I think Todd's getting forgotten about a little bit because of all the portal excitement, who you're going to get and all that. But I mean, If some people think Todd's a first rounder, you're talking about bringing back a first rounder. Not many teams are going to go, we brought back a guy that could have gone first round. There won't be many of those. All right, let's do some questions. You want to?
Yeah, let's get to them.
All right, Zach. I think Zach's going to read off some questions from the thread that we posted, and we'll get through as many as we can in the next 15 minutes. And if it's something we've already talked about, we'll just kind of go. We'll just say, listen to the whole show.
Yep, asked and answered.
Well, the first question is, there were two different styles of teams that Bruce took to the Final Four in 2019 and 2025. Which style do you think this year's team will be closer to, the 2019 team or the 2025 team?
Oh, 2019 all day.
I mean, yeah, because you're not going to have Janai and Dylan. Like, you're just not going to have two. You're not going to have a big banger center, kind of, which is what Dylan was. And even Janai had a lot of weight to him. Janai could step out, but Janai was big down low and could post that traditional post up. Murphy's not, yeah. That's probably the biggest difference to me. You're not going to have Janai and Dylan down there starting two centers. I mean, it's just going to look a little bit. You'll have some similar pieces, but you're not going to.
Sure.
You're not gonna have that. And Tahad will be. I guess you had Tahad last year, so that'll be similar too. So
you would have Tahad, but I think Tahad will probably be featured more as a lead guard. I mean, he's going to be your point, right? And so similarly to Jared Harper, he's a scoring point. You're going to push the pace with him, and you're going to really let him turn loose. I felt like there were times where Auburn played a little slow, just because that was what they needed to do to win, where they would feed Janai and they would let Chaney bang down low. I don't think you're going to have that same makeup of this team, especially with a stretch forward like Keyshawn Hall, where he's going to want to get out and run and get up and down the court and really kind of use his skill set to his advantage as a mismatch nightmare for the guy that's across from him. And Murph is not, a traditional five like Dylan or Janai. He doesn't have that variety of post moves, not yet. He's more of a stretch five that he can bang, he can get putbacks, run rim dunks, things like that. But you don't see a ton on tape of him on the low block and, creating space and angles for himself in the same way that Janai did. So I think they are going to push the tempo. They're going to build this team around Tahad to a degree. What does he do well? And that's why I kind of love Overton and Hall, because I think they complement Tahad so well, and kind of the way he wants to play the game and the way he's going to excel if he comes back and takes off the way that I think he can.
Yeah, I would agree. And you're not going to replicate 2019 because that team almost broke the NCAA record for threes made in a season.
Yeah.
I mean, that team was out of their mind. They didn't even. I mean, Macklemore was their center. I mean, what are we doing? That team was just fire away. Jared Bryce, Malik shot it, Chuma shot it. So nothing will really replicate that. But it'd be more similar to that just because you're not going to have Janai Dillon. But how Auburn's run offense has changed too, like what you saw last year, and just sort of what they do and sort of like stuff. That's changed a little bit too. All right, what's next?
You guys mentioned earlier about Kentucky running out of NIL money. Your best guess, how much more NIL does Auburn have to play with in terms of the transfer portal and bringing guys back?
Oh boy, I don't know a number. I mean, they're not.
The angle is if like an elite guy enters unexpectedly, would Auburn have enough in the funds to make a run at them?
So, and they can't enter anymore, right? And I understand the confusion, right?
Outside of a coaching change.
The portal is closed, but can Auburn say make a run at a PJ Haggerty? I think is what they're getting at. And my answer to that would be no. The only way
to either. They're not going to either. If you haven't noticed, like Auburn will Auburn's not opposed to paying, but BP is also a little bit like there's a line where I'm going to protect culture a little bit, and I'm going to protect.
Sure.
Like he'll pay. Don't get me wrong, but if they were, then they would have offered Yaxel more. That they thought they were presenting very good offers to somebody like Yaxel or Flory, or there's another one. But they're not about to like give $4 million to somebody.
No. And that's what Haggerty's alleged asking price is $4 million and demanding to play the point. But that's somebody else's reporting again. Let me cite my work here. That's Jeff Goodman saying that, not Alan Head saying that. But no, I'm with you. I don't think they have that kind of money. I do think that if Chad doesn't come back, that creates some flexibility, and maybe that changes the quality of the big man that you can fish out of the portal. But bigs are expensive. You talked about it earlier. I mean, it's, I thought that for what you got, Murph was a fantastic pickup for what was out there and what was available in the portal as far as a proven commodity goes. But let's not get it twisted. It's not like he was putting up 18 and 10 a night.
Mm-hmm.
He was putting up 11 and 7. So that's kind of what you're looking at. And I think that Bruce will be reasonable about the way that they attack this last spot. But I do think that Chad's salary maybe or maybe not being on the books might affect what you can do with that remaining roster spot.
Yeah, and I didn't see any massive names enter on the final day in terms of big men. I don't know that there's a guy. I don't know that there's a big man in the portal now that would even command, like, from Auburn's got Murphy. They've got I don't think Auburn's trying to go get a $2.5 million big man right now. Like, I think they want another big man, but I do not think that they have to have or need a $2.5 million caliber big man. Like, I think they're like, Murphy's going to be our anchor and we're going to play a certain style. We just need another interior body that's experienced, that's good, but he does not have to give us 13 and 9.
Right.
I think it's, that guy from Texas Tech entered. I don't know what his numbers were. They just need another good, experienced body that's a pretty good player. So my guess is what that guy was going to be is $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably my guess of what maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody demands more and the price gets driven up and they're like, oh, we really want this guy. Who knows? But I don't think the final piece is going to be a $2 million piece. I don't see that. I think it'll be a guy that you sort of have to pay a certain amount, but yeah. And I don't even know if Chad would affect that. I don't know. Like, if they knew he wasn't coming back and they knew some of those funds, maybe, but I don't even know who's out there. I don't know that there's a $3 million big man, I guess, maybe. But anyway, yeah, I don't think the last piece is going to be some monster. Now, if somebody would have entered last second, like if we'd have seen somebody enter, then maybe my antenna would have gone up. And I've been like, maybe Auburn tampered, but I didn't see that. I didn't see anybody in the last few hours or the last half of the day go in that I thought, ooh, I wonder if Auburn enticed that guy in. I didn't see that happen. So
no, I think you're more the variety of Ian Borders and Stephen Burrell and those guys having their work cut out of them for trying to evaluate what's in the portal and sorting through that. I think that's what they're looking at.
All right, what's next?
If Tahad does not come back, what is your prediction on the point guard rotation next year?
Whew.
Oh, God, can we just pretend he's coming back? I have no idea. I mean, Bruce kicked around, letting Chad play some point. I think Bruce, when he made those comments, I thought about it back then. I think part of when Bruce made those comments publicly, part of that was re-recruiting Chad.
Yes.
Part of that was making sure Chad saw that he was going to get another element to showcase a little bit. So I don't know, like if Chad came back, he'd play some. He wouldn't be the point, but like I think you could see Chad get when he's in there, get chances to bring the ball up the court. But if he's not there and Tahad's not there, I don't know. I mean, you turn and you go, all right, who's the best portal point guard in the portal? You just immediately sort of have to turn and see who's out there. You can't entice anybody in. Is there oh my gosh. I mean, you can't really, there's not going to be a high school option.
No.
So it's going to be, that's just not a great scenario. You're going to have to go find the best. And thing is, they're not going to know. Like, you're not going to know on Tahad for a while. So that's why I just keep going back to Tahad. I would just be surprised if Tahad doesn't come back. I think all the information they know, I don't think Tahad's leaving. But if he does, I really don't know. It's hard to answer. I don't want to cross that bridge because it's not gonna be a great scenario. You're gonna have to turn it over to Caden a lot, and I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. Not a lot of good options there. If he leaves, you're in a little bit of a hole.
You are, because I think the best portal player right now at the point guard position is Boogie Fland, and he's all in on staying in the NBA draft. He put his name in there with a do not contact tag. I think as a precautionary measure only. So if you're Auburn, you do need Tahad to come back, but I do think that Bruce feels comfortable with where they sit right now because there hasn't been much action. And if the apocalypse does happen and he does enter the NBA draft, well, then you're just going to have to probably get lucky like you did when Davion hit the portal and transferred to Baylor and they found Javon McCormick late. Like you didn't – I don't think anybody, and maybe even the staff, realized that Javon was going to be what Javon became. But
JUCO. Maybe there's a JUCO option.
Yeah, maybe there's a JUCO option of a guy or there's a D2 guy or something. I don't know. But it wouldn't be great. I think you're right. And the fact that if Tahad doesn't come back and Chad doesn't come back, your options at point are just – they're not great. You got a young Caden Magwood, and we'll see what else is out there.
Looking back at last season, where would you guys rank that last year's coaching job in Bruce Pearl's Auburn career?
That's a good question.
It's a great question.
Just for a note, he said that he thought the Smith-Kessler team was the most talented, but he thought the 17-18 SEC championship team and then the first Final Four run were 1 and 2, if you were ranking Bruce Pearl coaching jobs at Auburn.
That's kind of where my mind went a little bit. I mean, certainly the 17-18 team, I mean, your starting 4 was like Deshaun Murray. I mean, Macklemore was the center again, like really undersized. So what they accomplished in the SEC was Heron was a really good talent. Jared and Bryce were just starting to come into their own.
Yeah.
Uma was young.
Yeah.
Like Deshaun Martin, that team winning the SEC was pretty freaking like think about that team and think about this Auburn team. Like there's a better team. Like it's not even close. And that team won the SEC, I think, at 15-3. Now, granted, the SEC is way harder now. But
sure.
But yeah, I get the question. I mean, I would lean maybe that 17-18, getting that team to win the SEC was pretty freaking impressive. But here's the thing, here's why I would say this year. The schedule. The schedule to me trumps that team being a little undersized. Okay. Dude, the schedule they just played, the grind. Game 2 was Houston. Game 2. You didn't even get into the season. Like you played Vermont and then you played the national runner-up in the Toyota Center. And then you were just off to the races. Like, so I would say this year is the best coaching job they've done. But even though they had a really talented team, the schedule was crazy. And to keep the guys engaged the way they did, to win that many quad 1 games, to have very few slip-ups, like I would go this year. Because if the schedule was weak, fine. But, man, to grind November, December, January, February, March, like get to the Final Four. Like that team, listen, that team overachieved in 17-18 maybe, but that team flamed out in the NCAA SEC tournament, got smoked by Alabama, barely beat College of Charleston, got destroyed by Clemson. They flamed out. Like, so this team played this schedule and then lived up to it and made a run and beat Creighton and beat Michigan and beat Michigan State and was in the Final Four. Like they lived up to the expectations and they played the hardest schedule that Auburn basketball has ever seen. So to me, the best coaching job is the one we just saw.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you. That 2019 team was special, obviously, and will go down as some of my favorite players ever at Auburn just because of the way they were able to do it and being the first time. I agree with you that this was the best, and this doesn't make for good podcasting, right? Like you want some contrast here, but I have a hard time disagreeing with that assessment given the schedule that you played, the longevity with which to sustain that kind of play to be able to be successful. I mean, that's just so incredibly hard to do, to be that level of consistent for that long of a period of time. Whereas in 19, you started off hot in conference play, then you had a dip, then you come back, then you get red hot in the tournament, and then you carry that over into the Final Four. And if you don't lose Chuma Okeke, who knows what happens? But that changed. Yeah, it's going to be this year. But let me give you probably the first year of Bruce is so underrated as far as a coaching job. I mean, you had, dude, that roster.
Holy moly, dude. Look, go back. That's just for fun. You're like, Lord, how far we've come.
I mean, it's absolutely insane to think about.
You talking about you talking about 15, 16, or are you talking about 14, 15?
14, 15. The one where they make, 3 straight, they win 3 straight in Nashville in the tournament. Yeah. I mean, you had
KT Harrell, Simeon Bowers, Antoine Mason, KC Ross Miller, Malcolm Canada, Jordan Granger, Taj Shamsuddin,
yep,
TJ Lang, and then you're getting into like walk-on Alex Thompson playing minutes, and
yes,
Devin Waddell, remember, walk-on playing.
The fact you won a conference game with that lineup, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not trying to knock these guys. KT Harrell will go down as one of the better Auburn players to ever played, right? Like, I mean, I think he stands alone. But you look at the rest of that roster. I mean, it's a mash unit of just like stopgaps. Casey Ross Miller. I mean, look, I'll never forget the Malcolm Canada USA chants. When the Vanderbilt guys were getting on him. We talked about him before, but Big Sim, he was an SEC level player, but God knows you had to have him focused. I mean, that was an underrated coaching job for him to be able to put it together in that season. It's probably number 3 on my list behind those other 2. And then I think also another underrated coaching job by Bruce is the year coming off the first Final Four. That group was Samir Dowdy and how they were able to play that following year. And I think that would have been another Sweet 16 type team. They finished that season hot and absolutely beat Tennessee in Knoxville to finish 12-6 in conference that year. That was a really strong coaching job by Bruce, given what you brought back. We talked about Javon McCormick before, but watching him step into a role that had not, you didn't know he was going to be able to do that. And it was remarkable to see what they were able to get out of the pieces on that roster. But those are the 4 that kind of stick out to me for sure.
Last question here. Including Tahad, let's just assume he comes back, what are y'all's best guesses at not just the starting 5, but the closing 5 for next season?
I love these. I've gotten a kick out of. I love our basketball. Like our basketball at the site is. I think we're the best basketball site, and I think we have the best. The fans, and they're engaged. But all the projections of starting 5s and stuff is wild. It's like it's April, but I love it. Starting 5 would be. If you made me pick a 5, if I had to go, I would say Tahad, Overton. We're not counting Chad right now.
No, not counting Chad.
Let's go Tahad, Overton, Freeman, Hall, Murphy. That would be my 5. I'd give Overton the edge over Bashir because of his experience, his physicality, defense. And so that'd be my 5, and that'd be my closing 5. I mean, you just don't know exactly what you got with Sebastian Williams-Adams and Caden Magwood yet. You don't know like what they could be, how good they could be. But that would probably be my closing 5. The only change I were to make is if I said Bashir was such a bucket that he's your starting 2, and let's say Overton was coming off the bench, then I would open the door to Overton being a part of the closing 5. Let's say substitute Bashir for Overton as a part of the closing 5 for defense. That's the only change I'd make.
Sure. And to your point, I would agree with you on your starting 5. And I think you make some very valid points. Like when this roster was constructed this time last year, as talented as we knew Tahad was, I don't think anybody realized at this point that he would have and that he would be in that ending 5 group for you. So does a player like a Caden Magwood, does he, all of a sudden he's a mismatch of that combo guard and that gives you 2 ball handlers on the court at the same time. And is he in your final group? Or Bashir? I mean, there's just so many unknowns. And I think you hash that out beautifully in the fact that it's too early to really project, but my starting 5 would definitely coincide with yours. I think those are the guys that are the most proven commodities right now that you know enough about, that you feel comfortable about, that have produced at the college level. And you can say, okay, that's my starting group. And if that's your starting group, that's a lot of length out there, man. Minus Tahad, I mean, you're talking 6'5", 6'7", 6'7", 6'10", with long arms, length.
Especially if you had Bashir. If Bashir's at the 2 and Freeman's at the 3 and Hall's at the 4 and Murphy's at the 5, then your 2 guys 6'6", your 3 guys 6'7", your 4 guys 6'7", 6'8", and then you're up to 6'9", 6'10". That's 4 of your 5. Yeah, that's a lot of height. All right, well, let's run. I think that's a pretty good rundown of where we're at. There shouldn't be. I mean, I think, like I said, at this point, I think we're seeing, can Auburn add one more big? We'll see what Chad does, and then we're just sort of seeing how Tahad progresses through the draft process. That's where we're at. And I'll update everybody with anything else that goes on. We'll see if Auburn, there's talk about 15 scholarships. We didn't get into that. Even if that happens, if there's a jump in scholarships, that won't really change. Bruce isn't going to all of a sudden go get 13 dudes. He'll go find another walk-on. He'll go find another D2 with potential and fill it out that way. It's not like you're going to have 2 more spots for some Power 5 transfer. He's been over that years. He's told you, like, I'm going to get 10, 11, and that's it. So yeah, not really much there other than just maybe a couple more guys get some spots. All right, we'll come back. Maybe we'll give it some breathing room. We'll come back when things kind of get finalized or when there's more to talk about on some of those other angles. Go to auburnlive.com, subscribe, go to the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the board. Alan's got to run. We'll see you guys on the board, answer questions and all that good stuff. And until next time, see ya.